Have you ever done something crazy that you just never thought you could get back from? You know, one time when I was in elementary school, I was at this summer camp, and during our summer camp, we got to go and we got to swim in the pool. So after we swam in the pool, we went back to the bathrooms and we changed. And when I was changing on the floor, I saw a sock. And so did a few of my other friends, and they looked at me and they said, "Hey, Corbin, I bet you can't throw that sock in the toilet." And I was like, well, I'm gonna throw the sock in the toilet. I was an impressionable young kid, and so I said, all right. I picked up the sock and I threw it in the toilet. And I didn't flush it or anything, but I definitely still messed up. And I guess somehow that word got around to our teachers that happened, and they were pretty mad because that was somebody's stuff, right? So the teacher sat there and she waited with me until my mom drove up, and she told my mom everything. All about how I saw the sock on the floor and all the kids told me what to do, and I fell under peer pressure and I threw it in the toilet. And I got in so much trouble. You know, I was actually grounded for 6 months. I lost my TV. Couldn't just play with any of my games. I couldn't play with any toys or anything like that, and it stunk. I mean, have you ever been there before? Have you ever felt like you've just done something so bad that there is no way you will ever return from it? There is somebody in the Bible that I think really just embodies this idea. His name is Peter. If you know anything about Peter, you know he is just a crazy go-getter who's always in the front lines, always trying to do just above and beyond everybody else. Well, one day, Jesus tells Peter, "Hey, I know you think you're all that, and I know you think that you're greater than everybody else, but let me tell you something. You're going to deny me. You're going to deny who I am." Now, Peter really felt like he was a devout follower of Jesus. So when Jesus told him that he was going to be denied by him, he was in shock. Peter was like, there is no possible way that I'm going to do that. But then Jesus says, "Hey, before the rooster crows tonight, you will deny me 3 times. He says, not only will you deny me once, but you will deny me 3 different times. And that's exactly what happens. You know, Peter denies Jesus once when this woman goes up to him and says, "Hey, I think I saw you with Jesus." And Peter says, "No, there's no way." And then in John 18:25 and 26, the next 2 denials happen. It says, Simon Peter was standing by the fire warming himself. And they asked him again, "You're not one of his disciples, are you?" He denied it, saying, "No, I'm not." But one of the household slaves of the high priest, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off in an earlier story, asked, "Didn't I see you out there in the olive grove with Jesus?" Again, Peter denied it, and immediately a rooster crowed. Right after Peter denied Jesus for that 3rd and final time, a rooster crowed, and I cannot imagine how bad Peter felt in that moment. In that moment, Peter knew that he had failed. I'm sure he thought that there was no possible way he could ever come back from that moment. So let me ask you, have you ever been there before? Have you ever felt like you have done something that there is no coming back from? Think about that, and we will be right back. I can't imagine how bad Peter felt in that moment when he heard the rooster crow. I'm sure in that moment, Peter felt like he had hit rock bottom. I'm sure to him, it felt like there was no coming back. There was no turning back. He was way too far gone. But what is so cool is that that is not the end of Peter's story. Because a few days later, something incredible happened. Jesus rose from the dead. He defeated death, he defeated sin, he defeated the grave, and he defeated shame. Because Jesus rose from the dead, Peter was able to come back from that moment. That moment where he felt like he had done the worst possible thing he could ever do. You know, a few weeks later, after Jesus rose from the dead, he's sitting around with his disciples, including Peter. And they just finished eating breakfast, and Jesus says this in John 21, verses 15 through 17. Simon, son of John, he's talking about Peter, says, "Do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," Peter replied. You know I love you. Then feed my lambs, Jesus told him. And then Jesus repeated the question, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Yes, Lord, Peter said, you know I love you. Then take care of my sheep, Jesus said. A third time he asked him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt that Jesus asked the question a third time, and he said, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. Jesus said, then feed my sheep. You know, there are so many different viewpoints on why Jesus asked Peter that question 3 times. But I think one of the really obvious ones is the fact that Peter denied Jesus 3 times, and I'm sure he felt worthless because of it. But then Jesus uses this moment to remind Peter, like, hey, this happened. You denied me 3 times. I know. But right now, this is what matters. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? I think in asking that 3 times, Peter is able to see that that is what's more important than his denial. He's able to remember the fact that loving Jesus is so much more important than whatever he could have done in his past. So if you're like Peter and you're struggling with just messing up on something, then take this story as advice for yourself. The way that Jesus offers Peter to get over this is by feeding his sheep, by taking care of his sheep. And what that really means is Jesus is saying, hey, this is something horrible that you've done in the past. Yes. But now I know that you love me. So take care of the people that I care about. If you look into that a little bit more, you look into who Jesus' sheep are, that has the potential to be anyone. So Jesus says, if you want to get over your past, if you want to get over the bad things you've done, then go out and love people. Show people who I am. Teach people about me. Teach people about Jesus. If you want to conquer your shame, then just go out and love some people.